Listen, I need you to hear something important before we go any further. What I'm about to share with you, it took me 75 years I promise you, whether you pray 5 times a day or you've never stepped foot in a church, this matters to you. Please, just stay with me for a few minutes. Don't skip ahead. My name is Russell. I'm 75 years old, and I've spent my entire life wrestling with one question that I think every single person asks themselves at some point. What do I actually believe? You know, I grew up in a household where Sunday wasn't negotiable. We were in those pews every single week. My father was a deacon. My mother taught Sunday school, and I memorized verses before I could tie my shoes. Back then, everything seemed so clear, so certain. The answers were all there in black and white. And if you had doubts, well, you just didn't say them out loud. But honestly, here's what nobody tells you when you're young. Life doesn't care about your certainty. It comes at you with experiences that don't fit neatly into the answers you were given. And when I was 23, I watched my best friend die in a car accident. He was a good man, better than me in a lot of ways. He helped people, he was kind, he was generous, and he was gone in an instant. I remember standing at his funeral, listening to all the usual words about God's plan and a better place, and for the first time in my life, I felt angry. Not sad, angry, because none of it made sense to me anymore. That anger, it started something in me that I couldn't stop. I started asking questions. Real questions. Not the kind you ask in Sunday school where you already know the acceptable answer. I read everything I could get my hands on. The Bible, yes, but also the Quran, Buddhist texts, Hindu philosophy, even the writings of people who didn't believe in anything at all. And you know what I discovered? Every single one of them had something true in it. Every single one. Well, I met a man once, this was probably 30 years ago now, who was a devout Muslim. We worked together, and at first, I'll be honest, I kept my distance. I had all these ideas in my head about what that meant, what he must believe about me, about my faith. But one day, we got stuck working late on a project, and we started talking, really talking. And he told me about the 5 pillars of Islam, about what prayer meant to him, about charity and compassion and submission to something greater than yourself. And I realized, sitting there at 11 o'clock at night in a nearly empty office, that he was describing the exact same longing I felt every time I knelt down to pray. The words were different. The rituals were different. But the hunger, the need for connection to something beyond ourselves that was identical. Now, listen, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking I'm about to tell you that all religions are the same, that it doesn't matter what you believe as long as you're a good person. That's not what I'm saying. Not at all. Because here's what I've learned in 75 years. The differences do matter. They matter because they represent different ways of understanding the mystery of existence, different languages for talking about things that are almost impossible to talk about. But here's what matters even more. Every single religious tradition I've ever studied, every single one, comes back to the same core truth. Love people, help people, don't be cruel, be humble. Recognize that you don't have all the answers. You see, I've been to Jewish Cedars where I've felt the weight of thousands of years of tradition and survival. I've sat in meditation with Buddhists and experienced a stillness I didn't know was possible. I've worshiped with Pentecostals who expressed joy in ways that would have made my old Presbyterian pastor very uncomfortable. And every single time I've found something genuine, something real, something that pointed toward truth. But honestly, I've also seen the other side. I've seen people use religion as a weapon. I've seen families torn apart because somebody married outside their faith. I've seen teenagers thrown out of their homes for asking honest questions. I've seen wars started, prejudice justified, and cruelty committed, all in the name of God. And every single time, it breaks my heart. Because that's not what any of this is supposed to be about. You know, when I was 50 years old, I went through a crisis. My wife and I were struggling. Money was tight. I was drinking too much. And one night, I found myself in my garage at 2 a.m, and I did something I hadn't done in years. I prayed. But not the kind of prayer I learned as a kid. I didn't recite verses or use fancy language. I just talked. I said, I don't know if you're there. I don't know if you're listening. I don't even know what I believe anymore. But if there's anything real out there, I need help. I can't do this alone. And, well, you know what happened? Nothing dramatic. No voice from heaven. No burning bush. But the next morning, my neighbor, a guy I barely knew, knocked on my door and asked if I wanted to grab coffee. We ended up talking for 3 hours. He told me about his own struggles with alcohol, about how he'd gotten help, about resources in the community I didn't know existed. Was that God? Was that chance? Was that just human kindness? I honestly don't know. And here's what I've come to believe. Maybe that's not the point. The older I get, the less certain I am about the specifics. I don't know if there's a heaven or hell. I don't know if we get reincarnated or if this is all there is. I don't know which prayers are the right ones or which day is the correct Sabbath. And you know what? I'm okay with that now. Because what I do know, what I'm absolutely certain of after 75 years is this. The mystery is bigger than any of us. It's bigger than any book, any building, any tradition. And the appropriate response to that mystery isn't certainty. It's awe. It's humility. It's wonder. I watch young people today, and I see them leaving religion in droves. And I understand why. They've seen the hypocrisy. They've seen the judgment. They've been hurt by people who claim to speak for God. And I want to tell them, I get it. I really do. But I also want to tell them this. Don't throw out the search for meaning just because some people have poisoned the well. Don't give up on the big questions just because somebody gave you bad answers. Listen, you don't have to accept everything you were taught. You don't have to stay in a tradition that doesn't feed your soul. But don't stop asking the questions. Don't stop looking for connection, for purpose, for something that makes you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. Because that longing, that's not religious programming. That's human. That's real. You see, I still go to church most Sundays. Not because I think it makes me better than people who don't. Not because I believe I have to in order to be saved. I go because there's something about gathering with other people, singing together, sitting in silence together, wrestling with meaning together that feeds something in me. But I also have a Muslim friend I meet for coffee every Thursday. I read Buddhist teachings before I go to sleep. I learn from atheists who have thought more deeply about ethics and morality than most religious people I know. And, well, here's what all of that has taught me. The point isn't to have the right answers. The point is to remain curious, to stay humble, to recognize that every person you meet is carrying their own piece of the truth, even if it looks nothing like yours, especially if it looks nothing like yours. My wife passed away 3 years ago. We were married for 52 years. And in those final weeks, when she was in hospice, she asked me, "Russell, do you think I'm going to see you again?" And I looked at her, this woman I'd loved for more than half my life, and I said, "I don't know, but I hope so. And if there's any justice in the universe, any love at the heart of existence, then yes, I have to believe yes." Was that faith? Was that hope? Was that denial? Again, maybe the distinction doesn't matter as much as we think. What I've learned is that the most important thing isn't what you believe, it's how you treat people because of what you believe. If your faith makes you more loving, more compassionate, more humble, more willing to serve others, then it's doing what faith is supposed to do. If it makes you judgmental, cruel, arrogant, or afraid, then something's gone wrong. And that's true whether you're Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, or none of the above. Honestly, I'm 75 years old. I've got maybe another 10 years if I'm lucky, and I'm still figuring it out. I'm still asking questions. I'm still being surprised by where I find truth and beauty and meaning, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So listen, whether you're deeply religious or whether you think all of this is nonsense, whether you're somewhere in between or still figuring it out, I want you to know this: your questions are valid. Your doubts are not a sign of weakness. Your search for meaning is one of the most human things about you. Don't let anyone take that away from you. Don't let anyone tell you they have all the answers when the mystery is so much bigger than any human mind can hold. Stay curious, stay humble, love people, help people, be kind, and keep asking the big questions, because those questions are what make us human. You know, there's a whole channel here where people my age share what they've learned from living, from struggling, from questioning, from growing. If this meant something to you, I'd love for you to subscribe and turn on notifications. Maybe something we share will help you on your own journey. And hey, if you've got your own story to share, something you think people should hear, go ahead and fill out that form in the description. The next video could be yours. Keep searching, keep questioning, keep being kind.